Alicia Keys was not born into fame, she was born into fire. The streets of Hell's Kitchen, New York City, where she grew up, were raw, unforgiving, and filled with noise, chaos, and constant struggle. And yet, in the middle of all that, a small girl with wide eyes and a secondhand piano found her escape. She was only 7 years old when her mother noticed she could sit for hours, pressing down on keys with a seriousness no child should carry. But this wasn't just a child's distraction. This was destiny knocking at the door. While other kids ran down the block playing tag, Alicia was locked in her own world, breathing music like it was oxygen. That little piano became the anchor of her soul, and the melodies pouring out of her small fingers carried a weight that would one day move the entire world. Imagine her mother, Terry Ogello, raising a daughter all on her own in one of the toughest neighborhoods in Manhattan. Terry worked multiple jobs, hustling just to pay the rent, all while protecting Alicia from the streets that swallowed too many dreams too soon. But she knew her daughter wasn't ordinary. She watched her grow, she watched her fight through shyness, and she watched her pour all her emotions into that piano. And slowly, the sound of those keys began to drown out the city's chaos, replacing it with something magical. By the time Alicia was a teenager, it was clear that she wasn't just talented, she was prodigious. At 12, she had already begun writing her own songs. Songs filled with pain, longing, and hope that seemed far too mature for someone who hadn't even finished middle school. By 14, she was studying at the Professional Performing Arts School in Manhattan, majoring in choir and pushing her voice to new heights. The school was filled with kids chasing the same dream. But Alicia had something they didn't. It wasn't just her voice, it was her presence. When she sat down at the piano, when her fingers touched those keys, everyone else faded away. She graduated early, at just 16. And while most kids her age were still worried about college applications, Alicia already had record executives circling her like hawks. She was young, gifted, and stubbornly independent. She wasn't going to let anyone change her into something she wasn't, and that stubbornness would become both her greatest strength and her greatest struggle. Her first record deal came quickly, but it wasn't the fairy tale most people imagine. Signed to Columbia Records, Alicia was thrust into the machine of the music industry, and they tried to mold her into something she wasn't. Executives wanted to control her look, her sound, even her words. They tried to push her toward pop, stripping away the raw soul that was in her veins, but Alicia resisted. She was never meant to be packaged neatly, never meant to be just another face on MTV. She wanted to tell stories. She wanted to make people feel, and she wasn't willing to compromise that. The clash between her vision and the label's demands created tension that would ultimately leave her frustrated and disillusioned. But as fate would have it, someone was watching from the sidelines, someone who would change her life forever. Clive Davis, the legendary music executive who had discovered and nurtured stars like Whitney Houston, saw Alicia's potential. He knew she had something different, something timeless. And when Columbia Records let her slip away, Clive swooped in and signed her to his newly launched label, J Records. It was a turning point. For the first time, Alicia had the freedom to be herself, to make the music she wanted to make. She poured everything she had into her debut album, and in 2001, the world finally heard the sound she had been carrying in her soul for years. That sound was called Songs in a Minor. The release was nothing short of explosive. Her blend of classical piano with R&B, soul, and hip-hop was unlike anything on the radio at the time. Songs like Fallon captured hearts instantly. The track wasn't just a hit, it was a declaration. Alicia Keys had arrived, and she wasn't going anywhere. Critics called her a prodigy. Fans called her a goddess. She won 5 Grammy Awards for her debut album, including Best New Artist and Song of the Year, a sweep that instantly cemented her as music royalty. But success didn't just bring fame and awards, it brought pressure. The world now expected Alicia Keys to be perfect, to be the voice of a generation, to be everything all at once. And while she smiled for the cameras and carried herself with grace, on one hand, it gave her the platform she had always dreamed of. But on the other hand, it came with rumors, speculation, and a spotlight so bright it burned. People wanted to know everything about her, who she was dating, what she was hiding, what secrets lived in the shadows of her songs. And with that curiosity came drama that Alicia never asked for. As her career skyrocketed, her personal life became tabloid fodder. Whispers about her relationships swirled constantly. Was she dating fellow musicians? Was she secretly involved with producers? The truth was, Alicia was fiercely private, but the world was determined to pull back her curtain. And then came the story that would dominate headlines for years, her relationship with super producer Swizz Beatz. When news broke that Alicia and Swizz were romantically involved, it wasn't just a love story, it was a scandal. At the time, Swizz was still married to R&B singer Mashonda, and the messy overlap fueled endless gossip. Alicia was accused of being a homewrecker, of destroying a family, and the backlash was brutal. She stayed mostly silent, refusing to fan the flames, but the rumors cut deep. For the first time, the woman who sang about love, heartbreak, and vulnerability became the villain in her own narrative. But Alicia was never one to crumble. She kept making music, pouring her truth into her art, and eventually she and Swizz stood tall together, weathering the storm of public scrutiny. Their love story became one of resilience. Despite the chaos of its beginnings, Alicia and Swizz built a family together, welcoming children and proving to the world that love, no matter how complicated, could endure. But her relationship was just one chapter of her story. Alicia continued to evolve as an artist, with albums like The Diary of Alicia Keys, As I Am, and Girl on Fire showcasing her growth, her maturity, and her willingness to bare her soul. Each album was like a journal entry, filled with confessions, reflections, and raw emotion. She was never afraid to speak her truth, whether it was about heartbreak, self-discovery, or the challenges of fame. What made Alicia Keys stand out wasn't just her talent, it was her authenticity. She refused to conform to industry standards, famously stepping away from makeup and embracing her natural beauty in a world obsessed with perfection. She spoke openly about self-acceptance, about finding strength in vulnerability, and about the importance of staying true to yourself no matter how loud the world's voices became. Fans connected with her not just because of her voice, but because of her spirit. She wasn't just singing to them, she was speaking for them. As the years went by, Alicia didn't just remain relevant, she became iconic. She collaborated with some of the biggest names in music, sold millions of records, won multiple Grammys, and even expanded into acting and activism. But perhaps her greatest achievement was not the awards or the accolades, it was the impact she had on people's lives. Her songs became anthems for love, healing, and empowerment. No One, If I Ain't Got You, Girl on Fire, these weren't just hits. They were lifelines for people going through pain, heartbreak, and struggle. Alicia Keys wasn't just an artist, she was a healer. But even as she stood at the top of the music world, the rumors never stopped. Tabloids speculated about her marriage, about possible breakups, about new affairs, about tension in her career. Every public appearance was analyzed, every lyric was dissected for hidden meaning, and yet, Alicia never let the noise define her. She always returned to the one thing that mattered most, her music. She continued to evolve, to experiment, to push boundaries, and to remind the world that she was more than just a headline today. Alicia Keys stands as one of the most respected and admired artists in the world. From the little girl playing piano in Hell's Kitchen to the global superstar filling arenas, her journey has been nothing short of extraordinary. She has faced scandal, heartbreak, and judgment, but she has also found love, built a family, and inspired millions. She is proof that you can rise from the fire, that you can turn pain into power, and that no matter how loud the world gets, your truth will always shine through. And as she continues to release new music, advocate for causes close to her heart, and raise her children with love and strength, Alicia Keys remains a force, a reminder that real artistry doesn't just survive the storms, it thrives because of them. Her life is not just the story of a singer, it is the story of a woman who refused to give up, who turned every challenge into a song, and who showed the world that even in the darkest places there is always music.